Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Annwn Devlog. This episode should really have been the first episode, but I didn't decide to actually run a devlog until I'd done the characters. So now I'm going to go back and show you this, which is the first area, which should be the area featured within the demo version. Full version, we plan on being much larger. This is only a 1 by 1 kilometre square. I plan for the full version to be at least 3 by 4. So it should have plenty in it. Now, first of all, you remember my player from the previous episode. This is he. Well, actually, that's just his shadow because he's an Uma. And I don't know if I explained this properly, but Umas are not rendered until you actually press play. Outside, the Uma doesn't exist, and all you get is a little representation. But as soon as you press play, the characters that I had already designed and now have dropped in. Suddenly, if you just wait one moment, there he is. Oh, you just saw him. Right. Pause. There he is. Yeah, there he is. Here's the player. And I'm currently working on the first-person controller so that the camera, which at the moment the main camera is right here. Oh, that was a very bad perspective. There. The camera is positioned right in front of his eyes. Now it turns out that's not actually the best way to do it, because that leads. Although that's how we see the world, in game that produces a lot of problems. Namely, you either get major head bobbing, because as he's running, his head's going everywhere, or you basically get the wrong body parts in the view, and you end up seeing bits of his hair and his nose, and you can see really freakish look at his tongue in one shot. So I've been working on different ways of doing that, and more on that at another time. I spend days trying to figure it out. But for now, the purpose of this log is actually to show you the world of Annwn. Now, Annwn is going to be a survival horror based in the Welsh valleys and based on Welsh mythology. So I've been taking a lot of effort trying to make this look like like any sort of town you would likely find in the Welsh valleys. It's a fictional town, but the way I've designed it is that it should feel very familiar to anybody locally. Now this will be the road that you start the game on. Now the game will begin with a cutscene. The player will be driving the car along. You'll swerve to see something and crash here in this lovely car. And I've got some work to do to this car because I've got to damage it and add a number plate because it doesn't even have a number plate. But that's fine. That I can do. And yes, we've used. Although I actually used Easy Roads 3D to create this road, and added these crash barriers, which are those are the kind of crash barriers, and these are very much the kind of street lights you're likely to see. These street lights, the way I designed those was they came as a pretty blank looking light. To add a glowing point there, there's a halo effect that's quite on this capsule. Let me just zoom into that so you can see. There's basically a glowing capsule inside, which I've added some emittance to, and a halo camera effect, as well as a spotlight light source. And when I eventually baked the lighting textures, that took some time to bake the first time, I'll tell you that. Now, I actually had some terrible trouble trying to get the lighting perfect in this game. Not least because I'm currently using integrated graphics to produce this game, though I don't expect you to be able to play this game on integrated graphics, and that's why I get such low frame rates at the moment. But all in time. But it turns out integrated graphics don't actually render your lighting properly, so I don't actually get to see what the end product will be just yet. And So the player starts here, and why have I chain link fenced all this off? Well, that's simple, because that's the edge of the map, and I don't want the players going this way. So I've added a cliff, so if they just about manage to get over that, on this link of chain fences, they should never be able to get over this this cliff here and get back up. They probably get stuck and have to restart the game. That serves them right. They shouldn't be able to get over this chain link fence anyway. So that's really this side is just really for the view. Now going into how I tailored this specifically to look like it's set in the valleys. Zoom into my lovely looking textures. You see these the textures I've used for the terrain are actually all real textures from the local areas, which I've gone out with a camera and taken them. So this is genuinely what local grass looks like, because that is actually a photograph of local grass and local dirt. It's all over here. This sandy kind of colour is actually the dirt you'd find next to rivers. So I'm quite pleased with how that actually turns out when you zoom in. Oh, that looks a little distorted there, but yeah, that there is actually terrain I made from fallen leaves on the side of a cycle track. And this path I have over here. Zoom in. Okay, I'll zoom in here. No, I won't. I'll zoom into the bridge. There. Now this cycle track over here is actually a real cycle track, because the texture I used for it was genuinely a cycle track that looks exactly like that. Likewise, this bridge is another exact replica of a bridge I had to cross over. And this, now as you go into the town, you'll see this sign. Croeso un, welcome to Annwn. That was, how I made that was that I used a base model of a road sign. You see big road. Here's big road sign. Let's open this. Okay, that's not the right one. No, I think I just road sign. No. Fancy. Fancy? Yeah, this looks like the one. Right, the original road sign came with this texture. I've used GIMP to edit that texture so that it looks. So the front of it looked like that, and ran a few just like I did to get the skin of the hag. I ran some GIMP effects on that to make it look a bit weathered, a little bit rusty. I think it turned out quite well. Go through the bridge, and yeah, you find there's a lot of foliage in this, and that's probably what causes me a lot of frame rate problems with this game. But that is, you do find that in the valleys there are literally trees and foliage everywhere, and also realistic Welsh. If I can find it, realistic Welsh wildlife in the form of lots and lots of sheep. These have come from a pack of animated animals I got specifically for this game, and you obviously can't walk through any Welsh mountain without seeing at least 100 sheep. So even though I wanted the game to seem a little void of life and very desolate, you can't really have any sort of countryside in Wales without sheep. if the sheep ever decided to turn on us, they outnumber us 5 to 1, and we know we would all be killed. Now, I just want to show you this other thing I did as well. I wonder if any of you recognise this style of wall. So this is a style of wall you see everywhere in the valleys. The only reason I wanted to show you this was because I made this entirely myself and I was quite proud of it. Here's a photo. Oh, come on. Okay, I was going to show you that photo then, but that has mysteriously vanished. Photo of the wall that I actually based that on, and it's gone. Thank you, game. Okay. Yeah. And the main quest of the demo. Before I go into that, I'm just going to show you something I've added, some fog effects. Now, when I put this game on itch, the first thing almost everyone did was run off the edge of the world. I don't know why you all like running straight off the edge of the world, but everyone seems to. So I had to put this in there. These basically cylinders, which are made of a fog texture, that will stop you from running off the edge of the world. So you can't do that anymore. And nice flattering image there for a moment. See, one of the problems I'm having with this, with my current first-person view, is that you get bits of head. But I'm working on this. I'm working on the controls. So as you run this way, you'll find you're stopped by the lovely fog. You see how bad this renders on my machine. Also added some other fog effects around in the form of a few particle systems, and you'll also notice when you look at this map, there are sound sources everywhere here. This is important because all the sheep have their own sound source, which plays at random intervals. Also various other things. There's some owl sound effects around the forests. No owls to go with them. But then there's a load of them inside the cabin. Just happened to zoom in on the spider there. Ah yes, Mr. Spider. I was going to show you him. Yeah, he's a little bit bigger than you'd actually find in the valleys, but I couldn't resist it when I had an animated spider. So there's a few spiders that just happen to run around here. There's also you might never even see these when you're playing the game. They're just lying dead on the floor. But there's also some bats that fly around. And now what the bats do is the bats randomly fly between these points. So there'll always be bats flying around, two bats constantly flying around the level, just to add a little bit of effect. So all the animals all have a basic AI. The reason I was playing with those is because I hadn't done animations before. So I was testing them out with some animals that came with their own little animation sets. You see, they've got their own basic little animation controllers. So yeah, I was experimenting on animals. Yes. Okay, the rest of the sound effects. So singing, the singer as well. Yeah, that's the haunting of it. Remember the ghost from the character Devlog I did previously? Well, that's her singing. And just see that. This was a sound effect that I got from a site called freesound.org. And what I did with that was I took a couple of songs of someone singing this little tune here, and added some echo to it, just so it sounded a bit more haunting. Can you hear? Do you think that sounds more haunting? Now, I'm actually going to use that same song for the opening credits when I do them, but for this version with backing. I added some backing. Do you call it vocalization? You need a little work. I may choose something else in the meantime, but I think it has a very haunting sound to it. If anyone noticed this as well, this is based on mythology. There's a very good reason why. There's a sound effect next to the graves, which is a woman laughing. And that's the same. Yes, that's. Oh, let's play. Yeah, there's a very good reason for that. When I say it's based on mythology, the story of the farm and this ghost is actually based on a legend of a lake maiden who was part of the fair folk of Annwn, the other world, and she married a farmer who was told that when she agreed to marry him, should he strike her 3 times without cause, she would leave him. And he obviously thought, well, I'll never beat my wife, so he thought this was fine. And yes, on the graves I've put the numbers 1, 2, and 3, which were again sketched onto the textures using GIMP. But now, fortunately, this farmer in the legend, what he didn't realise was that his wife wasn't human. She was part of the fair folk. Not really a description of that. That's why I've gone with ghost. And they actually don't behave like us. They laugh at funerals because funerals bring people over to the other world, and it's happy because they're going to heaven, in a sense. And they cry at weddings. And when she did, and he thought this was inappropriate, so he struck her. And eventually she left him with nothing and his farm desolate. That's why it's the numbers 1, 2, 3. And her still haunting the farm. Yeah, there's a little more to the story, but that's the basic premise here. As the game goes on, though, each area will focus on a different legend as you travel through this game, and you get a nice tour of different worlds. And anyone who's played the demo that I uploaded will also be aware of this part of the game. You hear a wraith, which is again a moaning Caihiraith. I spelled that wrong there. It's the Welsh version of a banshee. That was. You also notice the way the camera changes when you do that. Now, what part are we going to first? Okay. Oh God, there was a lot of objects in that. So to show you how I got around some of the lighting issues. There's loads in here. Right. Now, main camera. Now the game was very dark when first, and the trouble is I wanted it set at night, eerily dark, but also you want to be able to see. So I had to put a lot of post-processing into this to try and get it to work. So here's the post-processing stack. I wonder what all these do. Let's look at them. Firstly, turn that on. There now. This leave vignette, and that's not actually visible in the game unless you're swimming underwater or are hit. Which, when you're hit, turn it on and turn it red. And again, when you die, okay, that's just a death text. Then we've got colour grading. This is always switched on. I warmed the colours up because they tend to be a little. When you don't do that, they do tend to be a little flat. So I warmed it up so it appears a little more colourful. Mild tint, there's a little bit of gamma on there to try and brighten it up a little bit. Depth of field, well, that is just to give the character a little bit of distance, so he focuses a bit better. Gosh, that's bad. The ambient occlusion, what does that do? Oh yeah, that, remember, render the lighting a little bit better. Chromatic aberration, that was, come back to the Wraith moment, when your vision gets very blurry, that's what it does, that's what they do, switch this effect on. Chromatic aberration, it makes your vision suddenly turn blurry. Well, I've also got this heart rate monitor. That's the first part of my user interface. This heart rate monitor, I wanted to keep it looking just like that. I know it looks a bit out of place in a survival horror, doesn't it? A little heart shape. But what I'm going to do with that is, once I get the first person perspective perfect, I'm going to put that onto the face of a watch, so that as you press tab, you pull a watch in front of your face, and there you see your heart rate. And what's wrong with someone wearing a heart rate monitor? People do that these days on smartwatches. And that way the health system, as your heart rate goes up and down for your stamina, and it changes colour depending on your health. So it makes the user interface part of the game. And then just a little bit of the AI, because I like doing this. So let's play a little bit. Another shot is bum. I've got to sort that out. Jump over here. Now this is a little cheat that I left in the game, purely for my purposes, just because it makes the game a little bit easier for development. Oh, there we go. One of my animals. Come on, wander around. Do something. Yeah, what they're set to do is to, every now and then, they randomly choose a new spot to walk to and have a look. You just go there. It's enough that there's in life. Oh, fly. Yeah, I've allowed infinite amounts of jumping just for now, because it makes my job of development easier, that I can just run and jump around the map. Oh, you can, yeah, there's that chromatic aberration turning on again as your heart rate gets higher. That's the whole idea of the stamina in this game. But as your heart rate goes up, you get out of breath, and you have to stop for a moment while your heart rate goes back to normal. It beats having a little unrealistic stamina bar. Plus, I noticed, when you sprint in games and you can only run for like 10 feet, you think, what, you smoke 70 a day or something? So I tried making it so you can run without jumping. You could probably run for maybe a mile, like a reasonably fit and healthy person should be able to. Okay. Oh, did I leave that plank of wood up there? I was rescaling things after putting this character in there. Scale is actually a very difficult thing when you're building a game. Everything comes in different sizes, and I'm trying to make it all roughly human sized. That's why I was having trouble getting through the doorway, because the scale of this was a bit off. So look at Mr. Spider here. I love this guy. You know how long I spent playing with him? When I say playing with him, I was playing with his AI. See, do it. It's going up a bit faster. Jump. Must be stuck on something. Yeah, if you don't get spiders this big in the valleys, thankfully, we would probably die of a heart attack should any of us ever see something that sized. But it's a game, and he's awesome. He kind of has a mind of his own. We didn't really give him half the stuff he does, but he does it anyway. Freaks me out a little bit. I did make him do this. See how when he hears this creaking floorboard. There is a creaking floorboard here, I swear. Can't find it now. I must have I broke it. I moved when I rescaled it. Anyway, there's a creaking floorboard here somewhere. And when you step on it, the spider turns and runs at you. In the meantime, he likes to run around the place, and he also climbs up. I made him sort of climb up the air as a sort of a drop every now and then, as a sort of a climbing of a web, and you have to change that. So I spent long enough playing with making a spider AI. Get back out here. There's about 4 more spiders running around here somewhere. And a lot of other things. Oh yeah, you can hear the spiders. They're that big. I really shouldn't make them so big. There's my eyes again. And my horse. You see, put a horse. I don't know why I put a horse in there. I had a horse model and I wanted to use it. But he's got everything he needs. You got a bowl of water, some pillows, some food there. He's happy. Oh, my tractor. No, he won't ever be able to drive that. Oh, there's the sheep glitch. I thought I'd put a fix in for that. Yeah, sometimes they do that. That is the weirdest thing ever. Yeah, this. And what are you doing? He's going mad. Why is he going mad? Weird. Yeah, these cattle aren't actually the kind of cattle you would see in the valleys. This is one I think from. I believe that is an Aberdeen cattle, and that one is from Central America, I think. But we work with what we've got, so I'm not too bothered. Oh, you can see my new fog. Like that, like my new fog effect. I think what else can we go into here? There was the water shader. You can't even see. I can't even click on water properly. You know how long I spent trying to play around with making the perfect water shader and texture. I even tried making a particle system that flowed with colliders through there. It looked really beautiful, but after a few seconds it crashed the computer. So that wasn't really a good idea. And then I discovered, after fiddling around for hours, that there was already the perfect shader included in the Unity Standard pack. If only I'd have looked in there sooner. No, so when I uploaded this onto Itch, YouTube this and managed to find this little area here, which is part of the main quest, and fell off. And this is the reason why he suddenly disappeared. He fell off. He fell through there. I don't know why. Again, everyone just really likes falling off the edge of this world. But I've put the fog barriers in for the time being. That shouldn't be too much of an issue again. Right, I think that. So I think we're done. For today. Probably keep going. I could probably keep going on about how I built this forever and everything I've included. But what are we on? We're on nearly half an hour. That's a very long video. So bye for now, and I'll record another video when I fix the first person camera and get that perfect. And I'll do a full tutorial on how it was done.